Coming up on Influencing Entrepreneurs.
No one knew what was going to happen. I remember that Friday, in March that we sent everybody home, and being a payment software company, there's a lot of security around what we do. Right. And we were really concerned about can we actually operate our business in a work from home environment? And then, within 30 days, in March of 2000, we figured it out, right? Because we had to.
This season of Influencing Entrepreneurs is brought to you by the Entrepreneurs Organization of Charlotte and Spherical Media.
After years of teaching entrepreneurship and consulting business owners, I realized that true knowledge comes from the wins and losses of those entrepreneurs. These are the stories of those business leaders. I'm Casimir Ward, and this is Influencing Entrepreneurs. Today, we're here with Michael Praeger with AvidXchange. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, no, appreciate being here, and it's great to do this in the city of Charlotte.
In doing the research on you, you took AvidXchange public last year with an IPO, and I've watched a lot of the interviews, and I really thought, how are we going to structure this? And the question was, what does Michael Praeger have to say that he hasn't had a chance to say yet? And I'd really like to start off with the structure of the lessons learned along the way to get to the IPO.
So it's been really an interesting journey. My career has been, one that's been a combination of entrepreneurism and, founding a couple companies combined with starting my career as a venture capitalist in Boston. But as it relates to AvidXchange, it's not an overnight success. We've been at this over 20 years. We got started in April 2000. Right in the heyday of the .com meltdown. But one of the things that I think was really remarkable is if you would have told us in kind of March of 2000 about kind of how the next 2 years were going to unfold, and as part of that we didn't be a public company, we would have never believed the story, right? So in a lot of ways, COVID was a catalyst for a lot of things. And certainly for us, it was, kind of, part of, putting a kind of punctuation mark on a remarkable journey to date. But it's, kind of the, end of maybe one chapter of being a private company and kind of a 20-year journey as a private company. And now a whole nother, set of chapters related to kind of our, life as a public company and continue our growth journey and really becoming that dominant, kind of industry player that we believe we can be.
So going to an IPO, of course, there's the 20-year journey to get there. You don't work all 20 years to get to the IPO, but it also seems we hear about the IPO happens, you're a public company, we're done, right? There's probably a 4 to 5 year path to the point of the IPO. So when does that decision come into play? And then what are those next steps?
Yeah, so a little bit about kind of that journey and kind of what led up to the IPO is so when we started the business in 2000, we were very focused on being a software company providing software to automate the accounts payable process, and we started actually in one industry vertical, being real estate. And one of our first customers was Daniel Levine here at Levine Properties in Charlotte, and that's kind of how we started the business. That led then to adding multiple verticals over time. But in 2010 timeframe, customers started asking us to kind of extend our solution set to help them with the payment process. And at the beginning, when I started hearing it, I'm like, that's odd. Why are they asking us as a software company to help with their payments? And then after hearing it at a couple of user conferences, I brought a group of about 30 of our customers to Charlotte to try to get to the bottom of, why they were asking us to solve this problem. And then, when they explained it, and we had a passionate, CFO from one of our customers in Seattle stand up, and he said, Mike, you need to solve for, my problem. And I knew, this is going to be challenging because, every customer or every company has a set of customers that kind of challenge them in a good way to be good. And he's been one of those for us. And he said, well, we have about 300 office buildings scattered across the country. We work with about 26 banks because of where mortgages are. And we operate with about 325 different operating accounts. And because of acquisitions, we're running 6 or 7 different accounting systems. And we want to run one bill payment process across our entire company. And so when he said that, I immediately, got it. I'm like, you're right. A single bank can't solve that problem. And so, they became kind of the poster child for what we were trying to solve on the payment side. In 2012, then we released our first launch of the AvidPay network.
Which again, that's a 12-year journey right there.
Right, that's a 12-year journey. And then since we launched, that in 2012, for the next 10 years, we grew on average by over 30% a year for 10 plus years. And so then, I'd say really kind of heightened the type of company in terms of market opportunity we thought we could become. In 2015, I clearly saw that now's the right time to really invest in the market opportunity. Up until 2015, we only raised, about $10 million in total capital. And a lot of that was done through angel investors. Some of the North Carolina angel networks participated. We formed a partnership with Bain Capital Ventures. Matt Harris, who runs the fintech practice at Bain Capital, is just kind of a superstar in both venture investing, just an all-star board member. And
real quick, what's the difference from having investors that are angel investors to having a much
well, we went from the beginning was just access to capital. So when we raised just under $10 million in our first 15 years. In 2015, Matt led a $250 million round.
Right.
So dramatically changed kind of the capitalization of the business.
How about the rules and the interaction you're having?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we had been a company that I think always operated ahead of, our maturity. Even when there was no reason to do it, we, put some, governance into the business in terms of how we operated. One of my early board members that was really helpful is Jim Hausman, who was the CFO of CT Communications, which is the Concord telephone company. I really tapped into Jim, and he, being a public company CFO, brought a lot of those disciplines to us really early on. And so, well ahead of our time, we had a formalized audit committee and some governance committees and things like that in the business. So I'd say, we were, pretty mature for, the size company we were as we were growing. But what Matt did was really, help me then to kind of formulate not only kind of the right profile of investor for the next, set of growth objectives that we had, but also the board. And that, so as part of that round that Matt led in 2015, we brought in Nigel Morris, which is kind of an icon, and founder of Capital One, runs a fintech fund in Washington, D.C. called QED.
So are you completely at ease as these professionals are coming in, like not professionals, but these bigger names are coming in?
Yeah, absolutely. Because what they were doing is what I was doing kind of early in my career in Boston. And they all said, the same thing pretty much. What can we do to help? And I gave them a list of things related to, I was looking for kind of talent, board members, thinking about, M&A opportunities, things of that nature. And then they all leave. And then, 6 months later or 3 months later, they'll check in saying, are you ready to do, financing a deal yet? But Matt was different from the standpoint from pretty much, every month in, month out for over a year, he did something for me. He, helped us with talent ideas. And so he and I developed a really good relationship about, just working together. And so it was really natural when we did our deal with him in 2015. But then he wrote me, we just really assembled an all-star board. In addition to kind of Nigel Morris, also brought in Hans Morris, who is president of Visa when they went public. And now he runs a fintech fund in New York City. And we just really rounded out the board with a really talented group. And then that led to really kind of that run up to be a public company.
Was there a moment or like a aha moment, like this is the time to go public?
We really felt that, kind of the next kind of financing event for us, could be as a public company. And we started, with some, IPO readiness, kind of work streams to, begin preparing. And then, March of 2000 happened, and no one knew what was going to happen. I remember that Friday, in March, that we sent everybody home, and being a payment software company, there's a lot of security around what we do. Right. And we were really concerned about can we actually operate our business in a work from home environment with all the security parameters and everything else. And like everything else, it's like, one of my favorite sayings by actually, Nigel, as a founder of Capital One, he's like, never let a good crisis go to waste. And to me, it's like a lot of the innovation happens in a crisis scenario, because like we had talked about, being more flexible with a lot of our engineering staff and things like that over, the last few years. But we could never like figure out how to like get the security right, things like that, for them to do, a lot of their development in a work from home scenario. And then, within like 30 days, in March of 2000, we figured it out, right? Because we had to.
And not only did you figure it out, things probably even got better. Like you got rid of the stuff that.
Yeah, we just, kind of like we reimagined like a new way of working, right? And so like everybody else moved to the work from home environment. So did we. At the time, about 1,500 teammates moved to a work from home environment. And so we really didn't know how, it was going to impact our business. And then, about, 90 days into it, we recognized that, listen, like this is actually going to be a catalyst for our business in terms of, kind of a tailwind rather than a headwind.
And the catalyst being what opportunity?
Well, the opportunity, right? Because it was a catalyst for adoption. And what we found is that, having people, when we back up, before that, one of our biggest barriers was, getting, CFOs, controllers, finance leaders to be comfortable putting all their financial data in the cloud, right? And then all of a sudden now it's like, it had to be in the cloud, right? Like almost overnight. And so, so that was really kind of catalyst for our business in terms of, supporting our customer base, as well as what we found is, we make most of our money on transactions going through our platform. And so if there's no volume, there's no revenue. And what we really, learned very quickly was that middle market segment that we serve. And today we have over 8,000 middle market companies here in the US. We're really resilient. And for the most part, their businesses held up just fine. And in a lot of cases, they had kind of the same, kind of growth tailwinds as we had, that their businesses were actually thriving. And so we actually, saw some degradation of volume in kind of Q2 of 2000. But by the end of 2000, by the end of the year, pretty much all the volume came back to pandemic levels. And that was really remarkable to see the resiliency of that middle market customer base. And then certainly, there was a lot of catalysts for us. We knew that kind of the next step in the process was to be a public company. Let's kind of execute it. And in a lot of ways, it became a great opportunity for both, AvidXchange teammates, the city of Charlotte. Because of COVID, we were able to negotiate with NASDAQ to do the first listing day where they ran the full IPO desk from, opening bell to closing bell outside of New York City. And they came down to Charlotte and turned, the AvidXchange office like into a movie set. And we executed, the IPO, from our campus at the AvidXchange Music Factory and, down the street here in Uptown Charlotte.
Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for part 2 of this episode. Influencing Entrepreneurs is brought to you by the Entrepreneurs Organization of Charlotte and Spherical Media. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/NexagyEducation or visit CasmarWard.com.